I've asked myself the question, why do anything if we'll all be dead one day? At some of the most pivotal moments in my life, whenever I'm about to experience a major shift or change in how I approach life, this question always seems to surface. It's a conflict that anyone who has grappled with this thought has faced. Two opposing perspectives. One perspective, a rather bleak one, is this. Ultimately, everything we know, everything we experience, and everyone we love will fade into nothingness. It's the unavoidable truth of existence. So, what's the point of doing anything if it all ends in oblivion? No matter how much we accomplish, no matter how hard we work toward our personal goals, everything we build will eventually decay and disappear. Think about it. Whether it's a career, relationships, or even our personal growth, it will all be swept away by time. The monuments we create, the memories we make, all crumble. The effort I put into staying healthy, the long hours spent chasing my ambitions, they all feel fleeting when I think about the inevitable end. Even as I pour myself into improving my body, mind, and soul, there's this unsettling, lingering thought. Will it matter? After all, when I'm gone, all of it will be erased, like footprints in the sand washed away by the tide. Take someone like Elon Musk, who's working tirelessly to propel humanity to Mars, aiming for a future where humans might survive beyond Earth. His vision is monumental, yet it doesn't change one essential fact. The human race, as it currently exists, will not survive forever. Even if we find a way to colonize other planets, eventually, the sun will burn out, the universe will continue to expand, and all of humanity, along with everything we've ever built, will cease to exist. This realization extends beyond the grand scale of humanity's survival and brings us back to the individual. Even if I were to achieve fame, success, or notoriety, and my name is remembered long after I'm gone, the reality is, after I die, time will no longer exist the way I understand it. The memory of me will hold no meaning in a universe that continues to evolve, indifferent to my existence. The paradox here is striking. We work so hard to leave our mark, to be remembered, yet when we die, we are no longer around to experience that memory. It's as though our efforts to live on in others' minds are all in vain, because we can never truly know the impact of our own legacy. In the face of this, the question looms larger. Why bother doing anything at all? It's a profoundly disheartening way to view life. When confronted with the harsh reality that nothing we do will matter in the grand cosmic sense, it can feel like all our endeavors are ultimately meaningless. The relationships we cherish, the careers we work so hard to build, the moments we fill with joy, they all seem to fade into insignificance when viewed through the lens of eternity. The very idea of time and our fleeting existence within it can make everything seem like a futile struggle. So why chase anything? Why strive for anything when we know that in the end it will all vanish into the ether, never to be felt or experienced again? However, there's another perspective, one that I've come to embrace, and it has completely shifted the way I view life. I've reached a point where I've accepted the reality that, yes, everything I do will eventually fade into meaninglessness. In the grand expanse of time, my actions, my achievements, and even my very existence will be swallowed up by the inexorable flow of the universe. The world is in a constant state of flux, ever changing and evolving. I, too, will eventually return to the earth. Perhaps my body will nourish the soil, help a tree grow, or become a part of the vast cycle of life and decay. But here's the liberating twist. Isn't that precisely the essence of living? Isn't that what makes the act of living so beautiful and meaningful? If you had asked me, in high school, what really mattered in life, I would have probably said things like landing a high-paying corporate job, climbing the social ladder, fitting in with the right people, and being admired. I thought those were the pillars of a successful life, things worth chasing, things that defined personal worth. Back then, I thought that validation from the world around me was the ultimate prize. But now, having lived through some of life's biggest changes and challenges, I've come to realize that those things, those external achievements, don't matter in the long run. That realization, while sobering, has been one of the most freeing shifts I've ever experienced. And it's in that liberation that I found the key to truly living. Letting go of the notion that everything must be perfect, that every interaction must go smoothly, or every decision must be the right one, has been incredibly empowering. I no longer live in fear of making a mistake, saying the wrong thing, or not meeting the expectations I once thought were so important. Instead, I've learned to embrace mistakes and see them as essential components of growth. I've come to appreciate the lessons they offer, and more importantly, I've learned to release them the moment they occur. They don't need to define me, and they certainly don't need to hold me back. In the grand scheme of the universe, they are just tiny blips, momentary occurrences in the vast stretch of time. And once I let go of them, I feel lighter, more at peace. This understanding has allowed me to let go of the compulsion to control every aspect of my life, to micromanage my future and force outcomes that clearly aren't meant for me. It's all part of the journey. What does it matter if things don't go as planned? What does it matter if I stray off the path I once thought I should follow? Life is too short and too complex to spend it trying to force every element into place. And maybe, just maybe, that's the very thing that can help you too. Maybe you're in a job you don't love, or stuck in a situation that feels draining. And maybe you're feeling the weight of pressure to make it or to reach a certain milestone by a specific age. But here's the truth. None of that matters in the end. The timeline society sets for us is not yours to follow. The real truth is that we don't have to rush. We don't have to be constantly pushing ourselves to some idealized destination. Life doesn't work that way. What really matters instead is making the most of this singular life we have. It's about finding joy in the small moments, pursuing things that truly bring you fulfillment, and choosing to live authentically, not based on others' expectations or definitions of success. If you're stuck in a job you hate, that's perfectly okay. It doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you're not there yet, and there's no shame in that. Life isn't about having it all figured out at a certain age or hitting specific milestones when the world tells you to. There's no race here. If you don't want to chase after a dream life, that's your right. You are not under any obligation to build an idealized future based on someone else's vision. You don't owe anyone your life or your happiness. In fact, the more I've come to accept this, the more I've realized how deeply liberating it is. Once I stopped worrying about others' expectations, once I stopped defining my worth by what I should be doing or could be achieving, I found space to breathe. I realized that the most important thing is not striving to meet an ideal, but simply being in tune with my own needs, desires, and values. In that alignment, I've found a true sense of freedom. This perspective has allowed me to free myself from guilt, stress, and anxiety about the future. Yes, I still have ambitions, and I still work hard toward my goals. But now, those goals are rooted in what I truly want, not what anyone else thinks I should want. Now, I understand that success is not about fitting into a mold or achieving a specific status. Success is about living a life that feels true to who I am, no matter how unconventional it might seem. It's about choosing a path that aligns with my deepest desires, not chasing after societal constructs of what's right or successful. Now, let me be clear. I'm not here to advocate for complacency or a life of inaction. This channel is all about growth, learning, and striving to be the best version of yourself. But what I'm trying to share, and what I've come to understand, is that the key to growth doesn't necessarily lie in the constant pursuit of external success, validation, or material wealth. The real power, I've found, lies in working toward creating a life that feels authentic and true to your deepest desires. I work hard, not because I'm trying to meet some arbitrary societal standard, but because I want to build a life that resonates with who I truly am. I don't want to look back one day and realize that I spent the best years of my life working tirelessly for someone else's dreams or doing something that doesn't light me up. We only have one life, one chance to make it meaningful. And while I'm here, even if it's just for this brief moment in time, I want to make it count. I want to spend my days doing work that excites me and hopefully inspires others along the way. Right now, that's what I'm doing online, creating, sharing, and connecting. But who's to say what the future holds? One day, I might feel the urge to leave it all behind, to drop everything, and go pursue something entirely different, like moving to Japan and working in a small, cozy restaurant for the rest of my life. And if I choose to do that, then I'll do it. Because, in the grand scheme of things, what does it really matter? I'll be living in alignment with my heart and my values. The reality is, we spend most of our lives chasing things that society tells us are important: validation, status, money, external success. We bend ourselves out of shape trying to meet everyone else's expectations, hoping that somehow, when we achieve these things, we'll finally feel fulfilled. But then, as we grow older and reflect, we come to a hard truth. None of those things truly bring lasting happiness. They may give us fleeting moments of joy or a temporary sense of accomplishment, but in the end, they don't add up to a life well lived. What really matters, what will bring you true fulfillment, is not how much money you made or how many people admired you. What matters is that you lived a life true to who you are, that you aligned your actions with your deepest passions and desires, and that you stayed true to your own path, no matter how unconventional or unpredictable that path may have been. Living on your own terms, according to your own values, is what makes life meaningful. So, let's return to that original question. Why do anything if we're all going to be dead one day? I've come to realize that perhaps the question is flawed. The real question is, why not live a life that's true to who you are, that reflects your passions and desires, and one that you can look back on without regret? Once you embrace the reality that everything will eventually fade into nothingness, something shifts. The weight of this idea no longer feels heavy or depressing. Instead, it becomes liberating. It frees you from the pressure of perfection, from chasing external validation, and from trying to meet expectations that aren't yours. Every interaction, every action you take, every moment you choose to live authentically becomes part of a beautiful journey, your journey. And when you embrace this perspective, you realize that it's not about what you accomplish, but about how you choose to live, how you choose to show up in the world, and the impact you make in your own unique way. True freedom comes when you stop obsessing over the things that ultimately don't matter. It comes when you learn to live without regret, knowing that you made choices that were in alignment with your own heart. That's what it means to truly live. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are in life, or what you've done. What matters is that, at the end of your journey, you can look back and say, I lived authentically. I followed my own path. I made mistakes, but I grew from them. And I lived without trying to be anyone other than who I truly am. When I'm older, reflecting back on my life, I don't want to feel like I spent my time chasing things that didn't bring me fulfillment or joy. I want to look back and say, I lived my life knowing that, in the end, nothing lasts forever. But I still chose to do the most good I could, for myself, for others, and for the world around me. I'll know that even though nothing I did will last forever, the moments I shared, the love I gave, and the impact I made mattered in ways I can't fully comprehend. And that will be enough. So, when you're lying in bed at night, reflecting on the life you've lived, what will you feel? Will you feel peace, knowing that you've done everything in your power to live authentically and true to yourself? Or will you feel a deep sense of regret, wishing you had taken more chances, made bolder choices, or lived more for you and less for others? Will you look back and feel like you've lived fully, or will you wish you could go back and rewrite the story? The end of our lives is inevitable, but how we live today, how we choose to live each moment, each day, can be the difference between a life filled with peace and one filled with regret.